Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Paul and Joe. I've had 2 coffees already, so I'm on to the water. Uh,
That
today
is slow.
yesterday was Father's Day, and I'm not sure when you're going to see this. We might publish it a week from now, a month from now. We've been kind of like, we're making them consistently. We publish them. But this will be a relevant message no matter what. It could be next July, right? It'll be relevant the rest of your life. Today, you want to listen in if you are a child of somebody or you have children, which means everybody. Because what we're talking today about is our desires and our responsibilities to make the world a better place for the next generation. And to me, Father's Day was a great time to reflect upon that. Now we can go into all kinds of different directions. But why this came up is because I had a conversation. Somebody asked me, I just met for the first time on Saturday at a cookout. All right, Joe, what do you do? I tell them I coach. I work mostly with men to help them become more satisfied and happier with both their physical health and in their relationships, all kinds of relationships. Usually they succeed more in business because of it too, And she's like, well, why do you do, what inspired you to get into that, right? Like I always get that question. Like it blows people's mind that I decided to start a coaching practice.
Right.
I started giving this whole spiel about, I think that we all need to create change. And I was a person who didn't think I could change. And I figured out all this opportunity to change. And it's so liberating. And there's actually just tools and skills. And then we got interrupted. And I thought for a second and I stopped. And I said, I was kind of just giving you like a factory answer, like some sort of marketing answer. I was like, here's the reality. I grew up feeling helpless. I grew up disconnected from my emotions. I grew up disconnected from my body. I grew up thinking that I didn't deserve to have good relationships and I wouldn't be a good father, so I shouldn't have kids. The reality is I stumbled upon ways to help myself really change from the inside out. And I absolutely positively believe the world is a better place if men are connected to their emotions, if men have quality relationships, if men know how to communicate, if men actually have a richer and more full experience of life and they're healthier in all ways, right, then they treat all the women in the world better. They treat all their children better. And we actually are healing intergenerationally. Men do have a lot of power. We have a lot of privilege, but a lot of us are feeling powerless and we're not feeling like we can change the patterns that came before us. So we're opting out. We're opting out with workaholism. We're opting out with drugs or alcohol, or maybe we're really addicted to adventure sports. Right. We're opting out with video games. But the reality is the work I think I do is so that we can make a better generation of children for the next and the next and the next, because things go one way or they go the other. Right. So for each person I get my hands on, if you will, with my help, whether it be my volunteer work or my professional work, I want them to be able to create a better life for whoever they impact and whoever they touch. And hopefully that's their children. So I know that you're a father and you're passionate about men as well too. And somebody this weekend asked you, why do you work with men? Almost challenging you, right?
Yes. Yeah,
so tell me how this resonates for you. I know that next generation, the intergenerational trauma, not just healing, but empowering us to have better relational skills. That's important to you too. So I'd love to hear from you, man, because I just went off.
Wow, this is going to be, I had to take a swallow. I had to take a little gulp on that one. This is going to be, so to answer your question, what drew me to the men's work first?
Sure.
My experiences as a man. Really, I'm a divorced man. I have 3 kids with 3 different co-parents in 3 different states. So I deal with a lot of different things ranging from, relationship, how to work in relationships, how to express, how to communicate, court systems and family law. And I've seen and I've experienced really and seen the impacts that they can have on a male. Now, for me, I've learned tools, and why I got into this work is I share those tools. A men's guide and a change agent. I help men find their way because the tools for men are few and far between. And I get pushback from people like, well, men don't really take care of themselves, so why are you even doing it? Well, I help men. Go go with the moms and like kids and the seniors. Men don't. Wow, what happened to us? So there is privilege for men, yes. And for me, doing what I do, I draw on my pains, I draw on my experiences, my wins, my losses, and I bring that into my experience and how I help guide men to find themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that for me goes into the generational piece. I have two out of my three kids, two are boys. And especially right now, my oldest one, he lives in New Jersey. So I'm really, and he's 8. So I really find myself going, like having another layer of relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that we're having this conversation because for me, disclaimer, I'm not a big fan of like the commercial holidays like Mother's Day, Father's Day. I think that's something that could be appreciated all the time. So yesterday, because I'm a non-custodial parent, my son does not live with me. We were making plans as to what we're going to do for Father's Day. And I really wanted to just take the day to myself and just chill and just hang and, I'm good. Father's Day can be any day. So my son was upset because he wanted to spend time with his grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, go ahead, man. Like, yo, I'll come by. We'll hang out for a little bit. I love you. I'm going to see you Tuesday. He was like, well, aren't you, I don't want to tell you because I feel like you're going to be mad. I was like, look, man, I have been upset about this day in the past. And I explained to him, man, when I was your age, at the age of 8, I would do anything to have a conversation and be able to watch a sporting event or do something with my grandfather, even just sit next to him. Yeah. And that's because, I didn't have that. I would have given anything for him to chill and hang with my father. Like my father's been gone almost 20 years. I would, man, and how my son is and how my dad is with like the reading in particular. Oh my God, they would have been like peanut butter and jelly, man. Mm-hmm. And this is the piece that is so, that's powerful for me and why I do what I do. Because if I was in my ego, Joe, I'd have been like, man, no, man, forget it, man. No, it's my day. You're coming with me. I don't care if you want to hang out with your grandfather. He's not your father. If I was in my ego, that would have been the thing. And then my son would have been upset. He would have, eventually somewhat got over it, or suffered in silence while he did what I dragged him to do. Right. Instead, I was able to take a step back, use the communication skills, be like, all right, well, tell me what's up, man. You don't have to hold anything from me, man. Listen, and listen, I'm going to do my best to stay in my emotions, and I may get angry. I don't know, but tell me what happens. Then I'm able to hear what he's saying, right? Again, the communication. And then I'm able to dive a little deeper and see what's there for the bigger purpose, that next generation, because damn sure my father-in-law has got some tools, skills, and wisdom.
Yeah.
And my son just got a download. And this is the piece where I dig what you're talking about here. What we're talking about is that next, what's for the people that are next, for the ones that come next. What's the information we share? How do we elevate that? And in my judgment, and my thinking, and my experience, it's that connection with that elder. Like we don't have that a lot in our culture too, man. The elders get pushed off into some senior home, and then all of a sudden it's like we don't get like, it's not like old tribal communities.
That's true, man. That is true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have this great example from your own life.
Yeah.
That has such amazing highlights of all the intergenerational impacts.
Yeah.
You've done your work, which allows you to be more present for your son, to hear him better, to then process your emotion around what he wants, what he says. In that experience, he's actually being repressed less. He's being oppressed and pushed down and stifled less. He's being taught to express himself and ask for what he wants, and that it's safe to do so. And then you're connecting him with his grandfather, which is going to give connection between these generations and pass down wisdom, making grandpa happier, and he's probably a little less grumpy, and he says nicer stuff to grandma, who says nicer stuff to mom, who says nicer stuff to daughter or son, or it just is more just a better relationship. So that's a beautiful and amazing example.
Right.
And the question that I really was posing in my mind when we started this was, what is a man's responsibility to the next generation?
Mm.
And where does that responsibility end? Is it just at providing powerfully to your children? Because I hear that a lot from men. Men take a lot of pride, like, yo, I'm going to give my kids the things I didn't have. I hear that all the time. But that's always about luxury experiences like vacations. That's about a bigger house. That's about being able to go to camp. That's about the toys that they didn't get growing up, right?
Right.
A lot of the time when we say that, we're talking about material things.
Truth. Yep.
So is that enough? Or is learning to be able to give them better skills to relate to themselves and others, more skills for health and connection and well-being, emotionally, mentally, physically, is that what we want to give? And then beyond that, let's say we are focused on the material. Let's say we grew up with nothing. And it is a huge evolution for our family lineage, for our children to be comfortable and not hungry.
Right.
That's a powerful thing, man. Do your thing. But then what are you doing to others and the planet to get there? Because if your goal is going to be to elevate and evolve your family lineage from a monetary or comfort perspective, go ahead, get it.
Right.
But then what responsibility do you have to look outside of your family on the impact that you have on the rest of the world? So these are the questions I have. Of course, I have a certain bias, a certain lean, but I don't think that either you or I have all the answers. I think it's a huge conversation to open up with people.
Right.
As a father, you know, what's your thought? Like, as a father, when do you think about? Because, like, I think you do your inner work for you, but also for your kids.
Yes.
I mean, here's your truth. You have a serious, complicated relationship most of the time with probably 3 or 4 women.
Yeah.
Not including the women in your family.
Right. Yes.
3 co-parents, and usually, I mean, you're hot stuff, so you're going to be in a relationship, you know, or dating. So you have that and your 3 kids.
Right.
You have at least 6 or 7 very intimate and important relationships at all times. Let me tell you something, Paul. Is it like a dude without kids? I got no kids. I got no baby mamas, or co-parents, whatever you want to call it.
Enjoy this time.
I would think, holy shit, I'm supposed to do dope stuff for all these 7 really powerful, intimate relationships in my life. How the hell am I supposed to think about the environment? Or how the hell am I supposed to think about the next generation? Or how the hell am I supposed to think about my impact on people outside of family? For you, how does that show up? Like, do you have space beyond those intimate relationships? It's something you think about a lot. I just wonder what your truth is on this so I can get a reality check. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is oh boy. So this is layered. This is layered, man. How it shows up, how it was showing up for me is a lot of people pleasing and misery. Okay.
How it was showing up.
That's how it was.
Because you wanted to do, can I ask, so you wanted to do well by them.
Yes.
So the way you thought to do it was to be the nice guy.
Yeah. And and like whatever you need. Okay. Oh, they need, okay.
Shirt off your back, skin off your knees, whatever.
Listen, whatever. Like, sacrifice my stuff and like what my needs were for something else. That's like, I'm thinking, okay, that's my obligation, right? And there is an obligation there, and the material obligation. So it was showing up as like, okay, I was really drawn. I was draining myself, giving to everyone else, and that's tough. And I sense, especially for men that are fathers in those relationships. We work with men that are in corporate, men that are business owners, entrepreneurs. So there's also that responsibility of trying to balance that and also giving to that entity. That in itself is an entity. Like I started looking at, okay, for me, Joe, and this is something more from over the past year, starting to look at everything as an entity, right? Not like, okay, oh, these are my sons or these are my kids. This is my relationship. What's the entity and what's my priority, right? And at this point, when I recognized and started doing that, I started making everything else outside of me the priority. Then I had another level of awareness to recognize, like, if I'm not making myself a priority, nothing else is flourishing.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything around me is going to be dull because I'm not bringing my vibrance and I'm not making that a priority.
Right.
So as in my situation, it's about learning, how do I take care of myself? What is it within myself? So and it's the same question, Joe, you brought up. Well, I want to give my kids something that I didn't have. I want to give my lady something my mom didn't have. I want to give my this business something that I didn't get. And what that started doing was I was looking at it from the physical. Then I started looking at it from let's just say a higher perspective. Like getting the big picture instead of being so into the details of that lower left-hand corner,
right,
and the pixel resolution. I'm looking at that big picture to figure out, like, okay, well, whoa, what do I have here, right? How do I want to move this forward? What do I want the vision to look like? So that same question becomes, I want my son to learn connection with other men.
right.
I want my son to be able to communicate what his feelings are. I want my son to have that space to communicate when stuff is not feeling right for him. Like, you know what, man, Dad, I just feel sad today. Yo, have that, brother. I'm right here, man. I got 2 good ears. That's the stuff where now that builds me up because it's a chance for me to learn something new in that scenario. And this is the thing that I want to make sure that we're aware of. It's when we go into that space, Joe, I'm going to speak for myself. When I go into that space of I gotta do this for them, for the next ones,
Mm-hmm.
I can get into that focus of, okay, I gotta know it all now, which also is destructive.
Right.
I gotta know. And one of the things I recently recognized with my son is like, man, you know what? I don't know. I don't know, man. Well, I'll tell you what, we got Google. Let's go look it up. Come on. Now there's a connection piece, and I'm about to learn something new. So that's why I say it's layers. And to really answer your question, it's, well, I answered the first part, just like how it was showing up. And then taking that time, Joe, to make sure that I make myself a priority.
Mm-hmm.
I check in with myself and learn, what the hell does that even look like? Maybe it's like going to take a walk. Maybe it's like, you know what, man, I'm going to read for 15 minutes and clear my head. It's different for every man. That's why I help men. Like, yo, men don't know. We figure it out though, right? I'm sure you do that with your clients too. And like, okay, so hold up, let's check in with self. Ding.
Yeah, well,
So, yeah, go ahead, man.
So no, I was just jumping in there. So
Gotcha.
is that something that comes up for you? Is like you think about larger impact beyond your relationships and beyond your kids much when you do your inner work or when you do your work for and with other men?
Yes, and I get to be okay with the impacts.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is looking at the bigger picture and taking actions from that may have quote unquote negative impacts to others. Because other people aren't going to see what I see, and they're not going to experience what I experience. They're going to see things in a different way. Mm-hmm. So by me making those decisions or making decisions I have to make, like, some people are going to get pissed, and I get to be okay with that.
Right.
Because I'm like, it's nothing personal, like, but and this is something that gets to be done. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's something to be aware of. I sense too, Joe, is when we're making ourselves a priority, is being okay with what the impacts to others are. Because some people are gonna be like, "What the heck, man? Like, you're such a butthole. Like, you suck. Fuck, whatever." Mm-hmm. Okay, I get it. Okay, yeah. Thanks. Like, like some things I do with my son, I don't want anybody to think like, oh, he's got a great relationship. Yeah, it's cool. And I'm a dad. So there's some things like I got to lay into his ass about, man.
Right.
He doesn't like that, but I see something larger that You see what I'm saying?
So you're talking about one of the ways you process it is you think about sometimes you got to do the unpopular or the hard thing that might
Yes.
have an in the moment negative impact on someone or perceived negative impact.
Right.
And in the long run, it is so that you can have a greater positive impact for the next generation.
Yes.
Yeah. For people outside of you or outside of your family. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man. It's interesting. Like, so with the men that you work with that are fathers, like what are some of the things that you see? Or the men, even with that manage and balance these different relationships, what things you see with them?
Well, when you ask what things do I see with them, are we talking about
Like they're like how they manage this, and
mhm.
also another part of that question is what are the ways that you help them to manage it? Like what's the plan or what's the layout for them to balance all the things that they have in their life?
Right, right. Well, I think that, that's a question that I'm not going to be able to answer directly because each person's different.
Mm-hmm.
One person shows up and they're totally all about their work performance and they're not even thinking about the impact on their kids. One person shows up, they really want help with health and they're absolutely thinking about their kids. What they're thinking about is like, oh, I want to be able to play with them when I'm 50, or I want to be able to play with my grandkids. Like they think about it from that perspective.
Right.
What I find is that most people, and I'm going to say men are most people, we process things from these like culturally normative narratives. I want to be able to toss a ball with my grandson.
Right.
I'm going to walk my daughter down the aisle. But we don't, but what happens is it takes some digging. And I try and do this very early with people, some before we start working together, to look at, if you were to improve your career, if you were to improve your love life, if you were to improve your health, who else will that impact? So actually, I'll be honest with you. I don't think men are thinking about this too often. I do think men think about legacy. I do think men think about providing more monetarily for their children. I do think some men think about like, well, I want to set a better example for them when it comes to health. But I start helping through inquiry, through radically challenging questions.
Nice.
I help people start thinking about, well, the way that you take care of yourself. What is that modeling for your children? The way that you communicate with your ex-wife. What is that showing your daughter?
Right.
Right? Men do think about this, but it's not at the forefront of their consciousness. And it's not at what they're willing to usually invest in, because we haven't been taught that that's what we need to invest in.
Right.
We've been taught that men are less emotional. We've been taught that men are less sensitive. We've been taught that, men are singularly focused, and that's okay. But that's all part of a system to keep us productive. And my belief is that we can be productive and we can be healthy and we can be badasses at love and relationship. But we've often been taught that it's one or two of those three of the triangle, but not all three. So that's is a lot of my work at the foundation is I got to get a guy to see how all three of those pieces play together, or we might not even be able to do work together.
Right.
Because unless we're seeing the interconnectedness of how we operate within ourselves, within our business life or careers, and within our relationships with our loved ones, our lovers, our spouses, our partners, our children, our grandparents, our parents, we can't see where that all interconnects. I actually do have a hard time really helping someone. The truth is, we're going to implement some new change around their health or their communication, and that takes time to integrate. So then we get a chance to look at, well, that's integrating. Okay, let's look at this other slice here. Let's look at this other side of things. What's going on with you and your wife?
Right.
How's your love life? How's your sex life? Hey, but Joe, I hired you for my health or whatever. Great. Well, aren't you healthier when you have a better relationship with her and you're getting it on? This is true. Like, do you need me to pull the statistics about prostate health and orgasms? Is that what we need to do here? Right.
Look.
Do we need to look at the statistics around how if you stay in a happy relationship, you are likely as a man to live, I think it's like 7 to 8 years longer.
Hallelujah.
You know what I mean? So or then we look at things like, hey, do you know anyone else who's owned a business and gone through a divorce because they weren't tending to their relationship? What did that cost them in their actual personal income? And then what did it cost the business? We know people who lost businesses because of a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
So we cannot separate these things, and we do have to look at our impact. So one of the ways I help, that long answer, right? So let me bring it back around to the question.
Yeah.
One of the strategies or plans is to get someone to look at the thing that they want more of or less of in their lives that I'm helping them with. How does it impact their children or people around them and the next generation, even if they don't have kids? Because I have clients who don't have kids, and they're like, oh, well, I want to model better for my niece and my nephew. Or like, oh, you know what? I have my own clients or I have my own employees, and I want them to have a better life, and they'll pass that on to their kids. Always I'm trying to get people to think about future generations or their impact on the world, because that's a lot more motivating than your wallet getting a little bit fatter or your waist getting a little bit smaller. You know what I mean? It just is. It's intrinsic.
Yeah. So, wow. So this brings up just a lot for me, man. I know we're coming. I know we've been on at this, and if we go a little longer, like I'm okay with it.
Whatever.
So thinking about what we want to leave behind, or what's next, right? That legacy piece.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on checking in with who we are first before we think to building legacy?
Thank you. My thought is that that's absolutely positively one of the missing links for most men.
Okay.
We say that we want to do better for our kids, or you say that we want to do better to impact the world, but often that doesn't come with a deep look at the way we experience the world, a deep look at our patterns that are destructive, a deep look at the ways we've succeeded, but with those same strategies, it's keeping us at an upper limit.
Right. So
that's exactly it. One of the things I was wanting to get to, and you helped us come to it, is as men, I think we actually, to be able to share privilege and power, which it's time.
Right.
You can't be breathing right now and not realize it's time.
Right.
You can, but anyway.
You'll feel it.
But yeah, you will feel it. You might not know it. It is time to share privilege and power. It is time to realize that people who've historically been oppressed, right? If they have more, if we get more influence from them, the world is better. Our life is richer.
Yep.
You know, we start solving problems that we couldn't before because we're giving more people space to be creative, productive, and powerful, right? And healthy and happy. So we realize that the world is a better place. But what we do have to do is we have to do our inner work so that we can actually handle all the change that's happening in this world. We have to do our inner work, because when our kid comes to us and is like, yo, mommy's new boyfriend, he's got bigger muscles than you. And you're like, wait a second, mom has a new boyfriend? And wait a second, he beat me up. Hold on.
Yo, you're like, hold up. You know what? I better hit the gym real quick.
Well, but that's an important moment. What do you show your kid in that moment?
Right.
How do you respond in that moment? Do you go start figuring out ways to be punitive towards her? Or do you start figuring out, you realize, you know what? I want her to have love. I want my kids to have another father figure in their life. And you know what? If I'm feeling sore, it's probably because I haven't done the inner work so I can go out and get new love and create new love. You know, it's like,
So
it's about being selfish so we have more to give to everyone else. Being selfish so we can be more centered and grounded. As times start to change and things start to shift so much, we can be like, cool, I'm here. I know I'll be all right. Oh, wait, I have less power. So wait, I need to ask you for help now? Cool.
Right.
I can do that because I've done my inner work. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, Kai. So just for the people that are watching, when you say inner work, what are some examples of what you mean?
Coaching, therapy, men's groups, reading personal growth work, books, doing spiritual work. Let's say you haven't, you know, as a kid, a lot of us had negative experiences with church or synagogue or mosque, whatever. It's like we all have beliefs and values that run our lives. We all worship things. Right. So figuring out, like, what is my spiritual belief system and how do I practice connecting to the rest of the universe or to other people, right? So like doing your spiritual work. physical embodiment work.
Right.
So learning to feel the physical sensation of emotions, learning to relax and replenish,
Right.
learning different speeds for productivity. This is all inner work. Communication, that's inner work. I mean, yes, it's outward going, but it's inner work. All of it really is. All of it is. So it's anything that's actually not directly about serving or pleasing others, anything that's not directly about creating the income, pretty much all of that is inner work.
Right.
You know, pretty much all that. It has to do with who you are as a human. It has to do with your relationships. It has to do with your health. It has to do with your mindset, your beliefs, your emotions, your connection to the world around you, aka spirit and spiritual, you know, connection, your impact on the universe, your impact on the environment, on people, all of that. It's basically just the opposite of what has been standard taught to us in our education systems. You know, it's like we're taught how to think and productivity. We're not taught how to analyze our own patterns, beliefs, emotions. We're not taught how to feel. We're not taught how to relate. We're not taught how to be healthy. So just about anything that's not taught in school.
There it is.
And a lot that is taught in school. You know, there's a lot of good stuff around psychology, sociology, anthropology, right? Once you get to like collegiate education, that has relationships to inner work, philosophy, right? So there is some. I don't want to be that disparaging against modern academia.
I will. In before college though, there's no education on this. So people got to pay. Listen, people already pay for kids to get educated, right? And it's to some stem or some system, some right or wrong. And inner work is not about right or wrong. It's about awareness, damn it.
Good point. Because even in that philosophy 440 class, when you're, you know, a senior in college, there's still some dude telling you you're right or wrong, giving you a grade. Which in a way is actually the antithesis of deep inner work, right? As you said. Boom.
We always bring in some goodness, Joe. That's how we do, Z.
Yeah, man.
All right.
This is like how Paul is today. He's just dropping them. He's just like, here's the hits, man.
Yeah,
take all this knowledgeable cash right here. You know, these are like, we're paying off right now. If you waited till this point, you're just getting paid.
Oh man. Listen, that's why we do what we do. Shoot, you can hire us. Yo, you get this on a regular basis, man. That's right. Joe, let them know.
Yep.
Dropping right. Bombs.
Well, I actually do work with men one-on-one. And a lot of the time it really is about getting more of the things you want and less of the things you don't. We can call it a lot of things, but at the end of the day it is. So we can do this inner work so that we can be more productive. We can be healthier. We can get more love and give more love, right?
Yeah, buddy.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about. And right after this, I'll be working with a client. We're just wrapping up a year. Literally changed his life. He went from being a business owner in a company he hated, actually, to now being free of that, on a sabbatical, training for his next business that he's starting, and a few months out from getting going into that, which is something he's been wanting for a decade but was afraid to do. So we're wrapping up, which, by the way, means I have an opening. So hit me up if you want to create some change. You might make a shift here. So that's it. Message me if you want help creating more balance in your life and you want bigger muscles when it comes to health and or love.
Yeah, buddy. Joe, what's the website for you, man?
Oh, just email me, joe@dropthearmor.com, or you can go to joebernsteincoaching.com. Would you message me, email me, whatever. It's much better.
Whatever. Reach out. And I'm Paul. I am a guide and change agent. I work with men. Now I've started up this men's mastermind. So not only is there individual work that I do, there's also group work now where I connect men. We talk about specific topics relating to how we develop and how we continue to evolve. Next up for us is the body, which starts in July. Want more information? Reach out, Paul at New Wellness Men's Guide, or check out newwellnessguide.com. Joe, once again, we hit it, baby. That's right.
So much fun for my Monday morning, Paul. Thank you.
My man. Blessings, right. Joe. Till next time, man.
Bye, everyone.
Peace.